quite. Although it could be live in several other places, and they just haven't told us.
We're always live somewhere.
Hello, everybody. Hello, it's us. It's I. I think I begin every show like that with "It is I." I walk in the house like that too. Yeah, like it is I. And
welcome everybody. That's how you walk into the house.
They normally moan and get mad. Oh, it's him. Yeah, so they get mad and tell me, "Oh, you're here." So I want to thank everybody for watching very early, listening in very early.
Gary just stepped out.
We're already at 45,000 now, Randy. So
awesome.
To start it off, I'm exhausted. I've been working on the computer all day. I'll talk about that later too. And Randy, should we do the intro then cards, or how are we gonna do that?
Throw up the main card. This one. Is this the one this is tonight's card? No, that's not it. Wait a minute. That's it. This is it.
No.
I like that one.
Sorry. Oh, you like that one? Cool.
Yeah.
I think this is the card.
There we go.
The views and opinions expressed in this program are not necessarily those of iNDIE Volt Media, LLC, and do not reflect the official policy or position of any guest or sponsors. Viewer discretion is advised.
Welcome, everybody. My name is Varian Grant. I am the founder of iNDIE Volt Media, LLC. I'm your host. Been making comics since 2008. Back in the old days. 10 years. Google was 10 years old when I started making comics. Isn't that awesome? So I've been making comics for a long time. Tired of it? No, I'm not tired of it. I do enjoy it. And this is my lovely show that I'm forced to host, but Rob won't take over. I'm
never asked.
Yeah. I'm joined as always by the iNDIE Princess, which is very late to wave, and of course Mr. Randy Zim. Randy, introduce yourself, sir.
Hey everybody, I'm Randy Zimmerman. I am an alternative and independent comics creator, cartoonist, award-winning graphic artist, and commercial artist whose main specialty is sequential art for advertising and educational purposes. I've done just about everything in this market that you can imagine. I've retailed for longer than most of you have been alive. I had the first comic shop within a 50-mile radius of my area here. I'm in just south of Flint, Michigan, and been in comics, breathing comics, living comics for a long, long time. So there's very little that I haven't done. Right now I have the Zim Geek channel over here on YouTube, as well as the pleasure of co-hosting here on iNDIE Volt.
The pleasure.
Is that good enough? That should be good enough. Now we're a tic-tac-toe board.
Bull Brady has been achieved.
Yeah.
We can go 3 more now, thanks to StreamYard. But
yeah. And we'll go to Andrew next. Andrew, introduce yourself.
So I'm Andrew. I'm also known as Pop Anime Comics, and I'm not necessarily writing an indie comic book, but I interview a lot of indie creators, and I've been doing it since March massively, where I've done probably about 45 of them in less than 6 months. I'm trying to reach 100, and I'm planning to do it by December, about a week before Christmas, the way I'm hitting it. And so that's kind of what I do on Facebook Live, and it's called Conversations in Pop Culture. And I also run the podcast, the Pop Anime Comics Lounge, where I interview a variety of people, voice actors, comic writers, artists, voice actors, as I just stated, professional wrestlers and cosplayers, and getting suplexed hurts.
Don't I know it? Phil Malcolm in chat says, "Evening, y'all. Stopping the intro to show some support. Appreciate it, Phil." Rob Anderson is with us yet again in the middle square.
Hello.
That's it for him. All right.
Wait. I have a representative who's going to explain something to everyone watching. Hold on. I brought my rep to like Paul Heyman for Brock Lesnar. I now have a rep.
Oh no.
Comics are awesome.
Thank you for your
Oh,
time.
that's cool. I thought you had this rep.
Show me the money.
Can we show Cuba? I mean, I don't know how. Where are we with Cuba? I don't know.
We'll get emails about that tomorrow. James, sir, please introduce yourself.
Okay, so waiting for him to do something a little bit more there for some strange reason.
You want us
James,
to throw something more in? We can throw
That's
something more
fine.
in. Okay.
Real quick, I'm Jameis. I'm a podcaster. My podcast is Webcomics Reviews and Interviews, and we're basically a 360 shop for comic support. We pretty much handle everything on the podcast, from writing to art. More accurately, how to write, how to do the art, how to survive conventions, even how to do business as a comic. So we're pretty much the weird little podcast.
Cool.
Yeah, right. And next time, is it? I can't pronounce your first name. Is it?
Jameis.
No. Is it?
Sorry?
No. Is it Scenario? Is
That's
that
good.
I think it. Okay, I got it right. Okay.
Tell us about yourself if you can. How's your microphone? No mic.
You can't hear him.
Says muted.
Yeah, he's missing. He muted himself. Hold on 1 second. Let me unmute him. Oh no, he's muted himself. Okay.
Yeah. No, we still can't hear you. You've got a faulty mic.
Rob, you're muted too.
And Rob, you're muted also.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. I said restart the app.
We're in the land
You
of
may have to
frequent
message him.
pauses.
Yeah, you may have to actually message him. We'll move on to Gary. Gary,
What's
tell us
up,
about
guys?
yeah, how's it going? Tell us about yourself.
Can you hear me very well? I'm the writer, creator of the Pyramid Nights, and I'm glad to be on. And, I'm 56 years old, and you guys better not speed beyond the speed limit. I'm telling you right now.
And now learning that what you do for a living. I'm afraid that I can't say anything on the show I was going to say earlier. JF, hello,
Yeah.
sir. How are you?
I am okay.
Introduce yourself, please.
I am a professional comic writer. Have been for about 15 years, and mostly indie comics. But I also do a podcast, audio drama podcast universe that I co-created with another pro comic writer, and it's that's my story.
Cool.
We're gonna get back to that in just a little bit. So we'll cover everybody here in a second.
Yep.
Scenario, how's your mic now? Is it?
Yeah, can you all hear me?
Oh
yeah.
Yeah. Okay. My name is Scenario Joseph. I am 36 years old. I am from Nigeria, and I'm a computer programmer and the founder of Comically.com. Comically.com basically was created to showcase African comics because people don't get to see a lot of African comics. Not because they don't exist, but because there's really no platform. There are a couple of them on Comixology and other platforms, but they're kind of like lost in the pool of all the amazing comics. So that was why we created a Comically.com platform specially dedicated to give, to promote African comics, basically. Give African comic creators an outlet.
That's cool. Well, so we're going to get into that. We're going to talk about that. But as always on this show,
you know what? I'm thinking that Scenario, right? It's his microphone is wireless, so we're picking up some other signals as we go along. Or am I the only one hearing that?
Yeah, it's a little interference, but I think it's a. Well,
Maybe we should cover scenario first and what he does and let him go before we do the questions.
okay,
That way we're not going to constantly have the feedback through the show.
okay, yeah, we can do
Does
that.
that work for you, scenario? Is that good?
Yes, okay. It
Does
works.
everybody else all right with that?
Yep.
But we'll lose Cindy.
Yes, we will. It's okay. That's from the Brady Bunch group. Anybody out there in Indie Volt Radio land, we are set up on a 9-panel grid like a tic-tac-toe board.
And everyone in the panel right now, mute yourselves so he gets less background interference.
That might be good. Yeah.
There we go. Okay, so scenario. I guess the first question is, now I was going to bring your website up. You said it's comically.com?
Yes, comically.com, or we have an app on the Play Store, Google Play Store.
Okay.
Our app is yet to come on. We're yet to have our app available for iPhones, but we're working on that.
App design, I've played with a little bit. It is kind of it's confusing at first. Do you do that yourself, or do you have a team that helps with that?
Yeah, I did that myself.
Very cool. Kino Williams says, "Hell, everyone! Oh, look at all these guests. Yeah, lots of guests tonight. So here are the books.
Yeah.
Oh, those are really cool. Is that look at Dark Edge. I want them all. Now this is your website. Walk us through it.
Okay. So when you get on comically.com, like I said, it's basically a platform for African comic creators. So on here, you're going to see a different kind of comics, from some of the visible studios here in Africa, especially Nigeria, because most of all those ones are out of Nigeria, So when you come here, okay, these are the characters of some of the comic studios. So most of the comics you see.
That is incredible. Beautiful stuff.
Yes. Because the beauty of African comics is that it brings the different dynamics to the whole. It's not the kind of stories you're used to, different characters, something fresh, something refreshing, when you look at the whole universe that they try to create, it's something different. And one of the things that really inspired creating Comically was, I would say, Black Panther. Because after Marvel's Black Panther, the movie came out, people were asking a lot of questions, about other superheroes out of Africa, other African-inspired superheroes. And we thought about it like, we have a lot of them. A lot of them have been creating since the 90s, but there's really no platform dedicated to really, really showcasing them. So one of the first things I did as an artist myself who was working as a programmer was to build this platform and make it available. It hasn't been really easy, because running the servers and having to basically doing everything myself hasn't been very easy, but we managed to do it, and we've been going now for about it will be 2 years in September this year.
That's fantastic, dude. That's
Yeah, I was looking at that. I said, "Man, I gotta get some of these. Look at the art on these books, and these are all books now." Sonari, where are you at right now?
I'm currently in Lagos, Nigeria.
Okay, so yeah, well, I love talking to people like when they're out of the country because out of the United States. What time is it there?
It is currently 2:17 a.m.
Whew, you're late. Okay.
I had to stay up for
Thanks
this.
so much for staying up for us. That's great.
Yeah, dude,
Yeah.
you're awesome. And let me say, you're awesome for what you do. I wanted to get you on this show so bad because you're a shining light in the world, showing how powerful comics really are.
Oh, thank you very much.
Yeah, Scenario, we're going to be doing a show with people from different areas all around pretty soon. We want you to definitely come back on for that. We're going to be reaching, so we'll be
I
reaching.
will anytime.
Yeah. Just
Anytime.
everybody together, and then it'll be really cool.
We definitely want to hear about all of these titles. Some of them are just incredible looking. June 12th, I think it's called. It's just looks amazing.
Yes, June 12th is amazing. It's actually June 12th is a very iconic day in Nigeria because in the Nigeria before 1999 had been in and out of military rule. So when we were clamoring for democracy and we really wanted the military to step down, the first free and fair election ever held in Nigeria was June 12, 1993.
Wow.
And that was when the country came together, irrespective of tribe, irrespective of religion, to vote for somebody, just unified to get the military out.
Mhm.
But sadly enough, the military canceled that election. So June 12th is a very special character that kind of embodies the oneness of the whole Nigeria, speaking with one voice for the very first time, to fight injustice, to fight corruption, to stand for the truth, and that is one beautiful thing about June 12th. There are so many other characters, it's just very diverse. Because looking at this, I remember reading the story and I was like, oh my God, this studio has to really keep doing this because many of these studios had actually given up creating comics, because comic going digital and all, and the younger generation, not everyone from the younger generation now buys comic books. And many of them are not so well funded. Creating comic books is very expensive for them. So a lot of them couldn't really sustain having to print comic books. And even though they did the digital, but distribution became a problem, So we had to really seek out many of them that were kind of like folding up or thinking of folding up, many of them that were struggling and create this platform. So personally, I'm really happy that this platform is there because it showcases what Nigerians are doing. And it's not been smooth sailing all the way though, because there's been a lot of challenges. I've been working alone, and the comics we have here are still, it doesn't reflect everything we have because we are constantly uploading comics and we have like a backlog of comics to put up on the website, but then I have to juggle having to run comically and do my other job, to keep everything afloat.
Varian, what is that website again?
Which one?
The one that you're on now.
Comically.com.
It's what?
Comically.com.
Comically. COMIKLY.
And I want to put it. Actually, Scenario, I need you to do me a favor. Well, I'll make sure someone reaches out to you from Indie Vote later. We're gonna put the link to the site on indievote.com. If that's okay with you, Lola. Pretty sure it is.
Yes, very, very okay.
And we're gonna put the link up there. I'll have Lola get on that and get that up there. People need to know about this. More people need to. I know there are people who ask me from hey, how come you don't put more free comics up, and not just free, but like more diverse comics up. And they don't get much more diverse than this. So we're gonna definitely make sure we support this. Randy, you gonna say something?
That's COMIKLY.com.
Yep.
And we will put it in the YouTube video when we're done recording tonight. to make sure that the comment's there. So if you subscribe to the YouTube channel with this video, you'll be able to find it.
Mhm.
And anything you need, Joseph, you just reach out to us, and you got our support.
Yeah,
We'll help you any way we can.
Thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
that's some absolutely beautiful work there. So
Thank you very much. We have a lot of them coming. Many of them.
Good.
I mean, coming on this show, I think it will really encourage me to do more because, when you are doing these things, and it's one thing to build a platform like this, and it's another thing to also promote it, So, and this is all self-funded,
and a lot of
from
times,
running.
the creators are working in such a confined space in their basements or their studios. They never really get out to see the type of reaction that their work can get. It's just amazing to see this stuff. It's great.
Yeah, this particular one on the screen is really, from the Nigerian context, is really funny, and it's kind of a satire. Like there you see the police officer and well, I say regular street food vendor. It's a kind of like this is comedy, but comedy in a different way. In the Nigerian way. The good thing about the titles we have here, is that it goes from fantasy to epic, hardcore African traditional stories to kids stories, with the Vector Squad, and then even some alien stuff with Terry Gods,
Hey, Joseph, can I ask you a quick question? Are all the books in English?
Yes, they're all in English. All of them are in English. They're all in English. But some of them may have some lingo, some language that's kind of like unique to Nigeria, because for instance, Garage Combat has a bit of Pidgin English. Pidgin English is Nigeria's it's a kind of like is a different kind of Nigerian English, but that's just a few of them.
We would refer to
Most of
that
them
up here
are-
as we would refer to that up here as slang.
Yeah.
It's almost like
It's not
an
just
English slang.
It's not just slang. It's like a complete different language. Like the Jamaican English.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we have the
Sweet.
Pidgin English that is spoken across the whole of West Africa.
Okay.
But that's just a few of them that are written in such language. But most of them are in pure English language.
All right, Joseph, it's 2 a.m. Go to sleep. Come back on during our morning show, and we'll get you on Thursday. Start getting your other creators ready because we want to promote you and all your creators. So start getting them ready to be interviewed.
We definitely want to talk more.
All right, just go to sleep. We want you to be rested, and we'll talk to you soon.
All right. Thank you very much.
You have a good night.
Nice.
Thank you. Nice meeting you.
We'll talk soon.
Nice meeting you. All right.
All right. Oop, I got to put Varian back.
And for all our radio listeners out there, that's comikly.com. You do want to go to that site and take a look. So there's some great material up there.
There was a moment there where Rob running the board, moment of controversy. We'll talk about that later, Rob.
It's him just picking on stuff.
Moment of controversy. The only sharp eye could catch. So let's go through these questions. And panel, if you've watched this show before, you know that you guys can weigh in on these questions, whether or not you want to or not.
We should probably quickly go through the comments. Phil stopping by. CM Boo says sometimes someone's lawyer is on the phone. LOL. It says it's in the wrong hole. What?
Mm-hmm. Ouch.
Meredith says, "Wow, full panel tonight. Howdy, Indie Volt."
Hello, Meredith.
Thanks for listening. Kino Subway says, "Hail everyone." Says, "Oh, look at all those guests."
Yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you. It says those look awesome. JD is talking about the comically.com books. They looked incredible. Absolutely. We ran that link in the chat also. If you want to get directly there. Thanks, JD, for listening and for commenting in. What's our radio numbers?
Radio number right now, I do not have. It's coming.
Okay.
It is populating though. So
It is.
all right. So I want to put the first question up, but Aaron Marshall says so many beautiful people. Thank you, Aaron. Thank you.
Faces made for radio, my friend. Anyway.
Except Lola.
Except yes. Except the Indie Princess. Dustin's writing in, says, I'm a young artist looking to break in. I want to earn it through working in the independent comics tier first, but the elder industry statesmen in my neck of the woods offer no help, little to no support, and treat tips and tricks like it's classified government documents. Dustin. Well, it's a good thing you found us, Dustin.
Umi.
I think I think you're right, Randy. I mean but I mean, Dustin, there's a lot of places you can find help online as well. I mean, we're going to help you here too. Obviously, you can always write in, and but if you can't find somebody in your area that doesn't want to take you under your wing, because sometimes that's probably for the best.
But snoop around on Facebook and YouTube. You're bound to find all sorts of tutorials.
Yeah, tutorials and just people who will talk to you about the industry. Don't do this, maybe do that, and then you got to find what works for you. Rob, you want it in there, I guess.
Yeah, I mean, Google. Google's your friend. There's so many Facebook groups. You just have the wrong friends. You're talking to the wrong people. It's that simple. Like, I mean, dude, you're not trying to go beyond your inner circle, and that's your problem. That's the problem a lot of creators have. Oh, all my friends aren't supporting me. You got the wrong friends. Find new friends. It's not hard. It's this thing called Facebook. Tons of people are on it. You should check it out. Awesome place to meet new people. Not so much Twitter. Watch out for the Twitter. It gets ugly most times.
And the cool thing now with the web is you can be anywhere and do comics. You can do anywhere and post your comics, get a site, even just throw them up on Facebook to be seen.
Yeah, look at our show tonight. All the way from Nigeria.
Yeah, all the way from Nigeria.
I'll even add to it.
Go ahead.
I'll even add to it because I'm not in the indie comic scene, at least not creating, but I interview all these top people, I interview a lot of indie creators, and there's so much free advice out there. And you'd be surprised if you just hit somebody up and say, hey, what's going on? Even some of the big people, they are super nice and they're super helpful. And even at conventions, if somebody's not busy, if you approach it the right way or you're supporting them, chances are if you approach them in the right way and nothing's too busy, somebody might give you a bunch of tips right on the spot. And I've had that conversation with Scott Lobdell, and we had a 30-minute conversation talking about writing, not necessarily in comic realm, but just I was writing something else and working on my blog, and he gave me all these tips, and then I wound up interviewing him later, but it was a small con, so that's something also to look out for, where a lot of people, especially the older comic veterans who have been around for 30 years, who are well established in Marvel and DC, and I know it's not indies, they love to give free advice and they love talking to people. And that's something that if you just say, hey, I got a really quick question, and you approach it in a nice position and you ask a lot of them, because some of them are going to say no, but if you keep asking, you're going to get so much advice and you're going to get leaps and bounds ahead of so many people, because the worst thing that can be said to you is a no. That's the worst thing that's going to happen.
Yep, amen. And I mean, read books. Why aren't you buying books about comics? Go to Amazon, How to Create Comic Books. Go to Randy's YouTube channel. What is it? Zim Geek channel on YouTube.
Yeah,
got history about comics.
There's a lot of really awesome books you can pick up from Amazon, though. There's
Comic
some really
Book
good instructions.
has a literal list that Randy made us make that says geteducated.space. There are a ton of books on there that will get you to where you need to at least begin to start thinking and learn to branch out. It's on you, my friend, though, Dustin. If you want it, you got to go get it.
Yeah, there's and when it comes to the books, my advice is, Dustin, you say you're an artist. When you're getting books, what I learned is just don't get one book. Get a lot.
Absolutely.
because all those books. The problem with the books are this: a book is going to show you how how Varian Grant draws a comic. Another book is going to show you how Randy draws a comic. You need to get a lot of books and find what works for you in all of those. You're going to always be learning. You'll always be learning.
Always.
I mean,
Yep.
yeah. And so I would do that too. Just make sure you get books, read them.
And like Varian said, never rely on one book to be the end all for the subject that you're interested in, because there's a huge variety, and every aspect of this business out there is covered.
Anybody else want to say anything?
And also, just to add even more, and I think you touched upon it as well, there's a book that was just funded on Kickstarter that talks about the business side of independent comics. And it's a really important book. And so it's not just art anymore that's important. It's understanding social media. It's understanding how a con works, how the business side works, how to print your books. And I get that you're at the first stages of learning how to draw and everything, or maybe not learning how to draw, but keep on improving and getting into it. But remember that you need to learn that as well. You need to be a jack of all trades.
Jameis, you wanted to add something?
Oh, you're muted.
You're muted. Turn your mic on. There you go.
Cool. First off, there's a lot of really great books groups on Facebook that are pretty much dedicated to just exactly this, which is helping out new artists, new writers, and actually get into the groove and tell them exactly how to do the comics. I mean, not tell them how to do the comics exactly, but what you need to do, that sort of thing. This is also sort of why I set up my podcast originally, because there's a lot of interesting questions when I first started getting into web comics, especially when it came to writing. And so I'm definitely appreciate how he's feeling. There's a lot of information out there, and it's easy to get lost. Just try to focus on what you want to do and just go for it. Otherwise, I can't really add to anything pretty much everybody else has already said. So.
Go ahead.
Okay. One thing I will say too, there are so many books. Do pay attention to what the authors have actually done, because there's a lot of people that write stuff that really don't know what they're talking about, or they're assuming. I mean, that's and that can get confusing.
Yep.
So you definitely want to look up people who have actually done things. I will say too, like they were saying about the different styles. And there, in a lot of free stuff that's out there, there is a lot of stuff that costs a decent amount of money, but they have many pages up for free or whatever of it. Those are really good too. Like Jason Brubaker has a really good new thing that's great. I think it's fantastic for younger artists, because it's a different way of teaching and learning to draw, and it's a good. It's funny. It's almost intellectual, but it's like really simple too, because it's a great way to learn the different shapes and all kinds of different things that through repetition that just make your overall drawing better. There's a lot of things like that. Like I'm saying, like they've said, explore different styles of because everybody has their own styles and their own things that they focus on. And some people get more into drawing shadows with everything, or some people do more cartoony, like whatever, and a lot of that stuff. And honestly, it's good. And even try things that you might not seem like it would appeal to you, just because there's something you might take from it. That even though you're not, maybe you're not an anime person, but there is something about a specific technique or something that one anime artist does or something that really can inform your stuff, and vice versa. I mean, you can learn something from everything.
If you're an artist, even any how to draw book, you could glean some information from. If you're a writer, any writing book, there's some awesome screenplay books out there that teach basic structure, basic story or short story structure. That's all applicable to what you're doing. And the wider you get your education, the better. And remember, don't take off that card yet, Varian. I still want to address something when we're all done.
And remember to get the right books to read, and don't support the wrong creators.
And Dustin, I just want to let you know that I do feel your pain, because growing up, there were a lot of people in the area. Some of them, these folks that you really idolized growing up, or have read their materials, seem a little aloof. They're busy, they're on deadline or whatever. The elder industry statesmen, the ones that won't give you the time of day, don't give them the time of day back. But the ones that will, you're going to learn a lot from. But not only that, if you build a relationship with these artists out there, no matter how or what they're working in, and you get to know them a little bit, it's not unlikely for them to pick you up as an apprentice. And you're going to learn so much more, even if you're just sitting there all day, like you see Karate Kid doing wax on, wax off. Even if you're filling black spaces for this guy, you're going to pick up so much, so many tips peripherally, just by keeping your ears open, being around, watching how they work, watching their work ethic and all of that, that it'll be more than worth your time. So don't give up trying to talk to the locals in your neck of the woods. Just remember that some of them are busy, some of them are grumpy, some of them are just old and grumpy, and just don't want to talk. But you never know who's going to go, well, you know what? I'm tight on a deadline right now, but if you come in here, you can help me rule panel borders or fill in the hard blacks on a page or whatever, and help me get this done. And then maybe we'll have some time to talk. So.
One other thing, just because I know it's going to be just for the sake of simplifying things, Dustin, don't get hung up on you have to have a printed comic book, because right now it'll simplify your process if you look at the web comics instead of the printed at this stage of the game. That means you don't have to worry about the distribution. You don't have to worry about publishing. You just have to worry about getting the best possible product out there and for other people to see it. And that's the big thing more than anything else.
And I want to say hello to Dorothy. I see she's in the chat. And I want to move to this next question, Randy, because was that it? That's the last thing you have to talk about, right?
Yeah.
Okay,
I think we covered. Anybody else have anything to say about it?
Gary, did you want to say anything? You're muted, Gary. You're still muted, Gary.
There you go.
How's that?
Good.
Well, I must say, if you have an idea or a story or even something in your mind that you want to express in your comic, or like what style you want to go for, there's a lot of people on Facebook, even I found, that can do that for you. If you have an idea or a story, write it down. Show that to an artist, as a script or even an idea, or just a way of expressing yourself in a comic you want to create that will work. Someone will pick that up if you find someone with that style you're looking for, like an anime or an older like John Byrne kind of like artist, or even somebody new. They'll find it, and you can find it on Facebook. There's a lot of people. I found a lot of artists and people like that on Facebook that are helping me.
Good point.
I find Facebook.
Keep at it.
It used to be Craigslist. You used to find artists on Craigslist, but shut up, Rob. Anyway, not even like Rob come back in here. Let's the next question. This for you, Randy. Go ahead.
Wait, let's catch up on the chat first. Joe says, evening all. Dorfis says, hey, Randy. Hey, Varian. Hey, Dorfis, back. That's true, JS. Pop wonders who the wrong creators are. And Jovante says he wants to come on so he can say the number pi. I'm sorry, Jovante. We do not talk about pi on this show. That is another program. So Marquis says, the game is so hybrid now. What artists want to spend time with an apprentice unless they are an art teacher within the education system? Marquis, there are still artists out there, believe it or not, that are working physically, that especially when they're pressed up against a deadline, could always use an extra pair of hands, if only to clean brushes and fill large black areas or rule panel borders or whatever. It still happens.
Yeah, I'm even seeing it digital. They'll send you there. Hey, could you finish this up for me? Could you fill in the large black areas, digitally? Randy, this next question's for you.
Pop wants everybody to know that he lies pi. Sorry, you should not lie, Pops. That's not good. How y'all be at the table drawing like that all day, though my cousin be doing that and I be hurting just looking at him? Anon. What? Did I read that wrong?
No, you read it right.
I'm watching the Indie Princess busted up laughing.
Oh, Randy, you don't understand it, but it's funny.
That's what it is, right?
Yeah, that's.
Why did you want me to read it in a funny voice or what?
No, I just wanted to
No.
hear you read it straight.
How y'all be at that table drawn like that all day? He's got a cousin that's working like that, and it hurts him. So
Yeah,
just to look at.
Yeah.
This is why we keep a timer. Keep an egg timer so that when it goes off, you can get up and walk around a little bit and remind yourself, or else the joints get stiff and the belly grows large.
Don't I know it? Mine just keeps getting larger and larger. I can't figure out. It's ridiculous. You know what? I will say this though. Get them to stand up occasionally, stretch.
Mm-hmm.
Sitting in that position for a long time, it can really mess with you.
Turns your belly into a flotation device. That's what it does.
Kira says, I don't understand any of what was just said. Oh, he's talking about eye shape while drawing. Gotcha.
Yeah, you also want to make sure your chair is comfortable as well.
Yeah.
A comfy chair is well worth the money. I don't care what you say.
Yeah.
As long as it's not too comfortable.
I'm still on the search for my comfy chair.
What'd you say, Gary?
We could use some of that slang in our comics if we need someone to write like that. You know what I'm saying? That's pretty good.
We do have people like that write like it, but they're not letting me get published.
Nobody will understand what they're saying, but some people might. You never know.
When you sit at an art desk for hours hours at a time, it can really mess with you. I think after I think it was my third stroke, it was hard for me to sit at the table for a while. Like I just could not do it. I couldn't sit at the table. You could bring my art stuff on the sofa, but I could not sit at that table for longer than 20 minutes before I was just like, I gotta move and get up. It was kind of weird, but just kind of make time to be there. Know that you're gonna. I think the way I used to make myself draw was I would sit there and say, okay, I don't have to draw, but I can't do anything else. And so eventually I started drawing out of boredom.
The obligatory weird suggestion: go to the gym once in a while, just because it'll get all those bones and muscles and ligaments all nice and loosened up, so you can actually be able to sit down longer. If that makes any sense.
And you get the same workout.
I mean, I know a lot of people are going to hate me for saying go to the gym,
Yeah.
especially right now, given the COVID situation. But just do some sort of exercise. It's just something really good to do, just not only for your personal health, but also keeps you nice and flexible and allow you to sit down for a lot longer period of time.
What bothers me the most is my head, like thinking about what I'm doing. I mean, it doesn't really bother me physically, but like mentally, like I get more tired mentally thinking about what I'm drawing or what I'm writing than anything else. Sitting in the chair. I'd rather sit in the chair and drink a beer all day, but trying to think and write what I'm doing is a lot harder than drawing physically or sitting there physically doing what I'm doing, to me.
I found a beer from last August in the refrigerator. I'm wondering if I should drink it.
Do it.
I bought it August of 2019, and I'm like, I haven't opened this beer yet. I should drink it. I wonder if it gets more potent. Nah, never mind. Anyway,
beer does not keep. Trust me.
Is it a Corona?
No, it's a Bud Light.
That's even worse.
I think you're safe though, because that's pretty close to water.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Corona with the date 19 on it. Don't drink it.
Obligatory. Guess who does craft beers?
Yeah, and Kino Subway's right too. It does strain the eyes if you're sitting there drawing all day. That's why you see a lot of us artists all have glasses. So
Yeah, I get
So
that.
but even to get up and walk around your block, I tell everybody that if it wasn't for my wife making me get up and walk the block once a day, walk about a mile around, I'd be twice as big as what I am now. So, Alex D, thanks so much for writing in. There's something horrifically disheartening about seeing major publishers go to crowdfunding. I keep it for the small vanity press, grassroots groups. But boom, but Kickstarter, set me straight, boys. What am I missing?
Well, first off, I wouldn't
Alex.
call Boom a major publisher. I think that's your first mistake. I'm saying.
Well, I must say, like, especially now, you need crowdfunder or Kickstarter to help comics because none of the Comic Cons are open or going on. So how we gonna fund our work or make any money doing what we do if you want to make money? You know what I'm saying?
John says if you drink that beer, it's going to have a horrific metal taste. Was that in a glass bottle or a
it's a
metal can?
One of those metal bottles.
You might have a metal taste then.
Now let me ask you,
Now we're all going to be curious until you open that beer and drink it.
Varian, let me ask you a question. Why does everyone get so intimidated by Boom showing up, not realizing how many people they're bringing? 900 new backers were never on Kickstarter thanks to this campaign, and everyone's complaining that they're trying to make money. When did everyone stop trying to make each other eat?
Well, also what startles me is why is this suddenly a thing when just last month McFarlane Toys just got on and made $3 million off of a Spawn toy.
So what I don't get is
I don't
that
even know what Boom is.
it's kind of egotistical to think that the big guys can't also have a share in Kickstarter, because when we look at all these other products on Kickstarter, there's been big guys on Kickstarter, just not in comics. I mean, Spike Lee funded 2 movies on Kickstarter. I don't know how many people knew that. Somebody corrected me and introduced me to that trivial fact. So I owe somebody a beer. Maybe I'll take that 2019 one from you. But I think it is so egotistical and self-righteous to even think that Kickstarter is exclusive for the small people, because I think everybody has the right to it. Where is it in the rules that the big guys can't be on there? Not to mention that there's a lot of big creators now coming over, and the way Kickstarter works is that at the bottom they do recommend other projects, and a lot of those projects are indie, and so it benefits everybody when somebody like a Charles Soule or a Ryan Brown, who just funded Curse Words, because they brought me into Kickstarter. Because before that, I had a horrific experience on Kickstarter, and now I'm looking at all these other projects, and I'm back in 3 or 4. And obviously, I'm a little bit more selective because of money right now with me. But nonetheless, if that book wasn't on Kickstarter by those 2 big creators, I wouldn't be backing and be more interested in. So I think they're bringing in massive money, and I think it's great. And I think that it's just unbelievably small-minded to think that we don't want big creators on there. Don't you want a huge amount of people to come in there, and now there's possibly 20,000 more people with all these projects going on, and that's 20,000 more of an audience, and that means that your book can get funded quicker, faster, and also means you have to step up your game, and you need a better product, and that's capitalism, and I think it's great.
And for the record, that was Andrew Davis. For when you take a clip of this and show it on your show later, that wasn't me. He is way more attractive than I am. He is way more attractive than I am. You're not. I know we look a little bit alike, but he's way more attractive.
You mean when you clip it and take it completely out of context later?
Oh no!
There goes my career. There goes my career.
They don't get that out of context. No.
Oh no!
Isn't playing 2 seconds?
Did I say that? I'm sorry. Did I say that out loud?
Is 2 seconds? Isn't that the whole story? When you play just 2 seconds of a video? I'm sorry. Very
Especially when you have it timed out right down to the second. Yes.
Yeah, very
my career's over, so I don't really care. So I'm just saying that I'm my own boss and I can do whatever I want on my show. So that's why I can speak freely.
I'm going on Andrew's show.
Boom Resurrection. That's Keanu. LOL. That's what Pop says.
I think that what Keanu's doing is pretty cool. I mean, I've started to grow. My opinion is that I hope that the creative team is compensated fairly. That's what I'm hoping, because they did a book, and now that book is gonna be another $1 million book. Yay for us, yay for the industry. But I really hope those creators are getting compensated fairly.
And it's like Pop says, if the Boom is using that to float their next couple of projects and not reward the art team on that, there's a travesty there, in my opinion.
How about my opinion? You want my opinion?
Go for
Absolutely.
Any of those guys that have the money to like fund their own book and put it out there, why do they have to go to Kickstarter or Indigo or whatever? No, let guys like us who have nothing and are struggling to put our comic book out there look into Kickstarter and start our own campaign with it and get followers that way. You know, I mean, they're just taking away, in my opinion, which doesn't mean anything, but they're just taking away possible people that might fund us. You know, with that, in my opinion.
But Gary, have you paid attention to Boom and what they've done over the last year and what they haven't been able to do over the last year? I wouldn't call them in a place where they have a lot of money, to be honest. And to be fair to them, they have not had a great pandemic.
Well, anybody that's not exclusive to Diamond, it's got to be hurting. I mean, severely right now. I'm sure the whole industry is hurting, but some of these guys are desperately struggling. But again, like I said, if they're going to do that, I hope that they're going to make sure that the talent that's actually working on the product isn't just tied into a page rate so that they can keep the money for themselves.
And I'll even add to that, because I don't know how many people know how most of the mainstream works back, at least in the 90s, where when a book was doing fabulous, and even now when a book's doing great and then it goes into a second or third printing, sometimes that with a major company can keep other books that aren't doing so well and might just be breaking even to continue for another 2 or 3 titles, which means more work. So I don't necessarily have a problem if Boom is making a huge amount of money, they compensate their art team, but then they have an extra $40,000 and they throw that into other books that aren't doing so well, and that means people at Boom are still eating, especially during this COVID-19 virus. Yeah. I don't have a problem with that. And if that Kickstarter does that, and obviously we won't know until we all go through the deep files of Boom if we ever get the chance to do it. So I don't have a problem with that per se, but I also get Gary's point, and I get it completely, and I agree partially with that as well, where it's kind of a very tricky situation when we have big people coming in like Boom, and I don't want to say Boom's so big, but we do have bigger companies coming in, and we also have bigger creators coming in into the indie sector, and nobody in comics makes a lot of money from a page rate. There are very few people who do in reality, and also a lot of them have been abused and paid very, very unfairly, and we've seen that with a lot of the old timers. And so I get that, and that's why a lot of creators are coming in now into Kickstarter. And I do realize that it does take away from something that has been built by indie. But at the same time, I also think it's going to benefit indie. And there's a content war coming. And I think all the indie creators on Kickstarter or even Indiegogo, I don't know if that's a bad word, or whatever crowdfunding you want to go on, because I know there's another one that's out there now from somebody I know well. I don't know. I'm not going to mention her name, but I love her and she's talented. But obviously, I think this is going to be great for indie, and we're seeing it for the first time. COVID-19 has proven that indie is now ahead of mainstream this year as far as content production goes.
This also, with the big guys coming in, that also makes the crowdfunders actually look a little bit more, I want to say legitimate, even though I know that's not quite accurate. It's just
verified.
Verified. Basically, all of a sudden they become an actual part of the marketing firm or marketing part of any decent comic, because now you can actually get the word out through your crowdfunder and actually start having a little bit more fun with it, especially the way, like Kickstarter works, for example, where they have the video where you have to do your presentation. It's just a really great way to advertise your comic, if nothing else. And with more people coming in, especially the big guys, you're going to have a lot more interest played onto the crowdfunders.
Mhm.
So,
Well, that's what I wanted to talk about. Variant about is getting distributed through his stuff.
Your mic's starting to go out, Gary.
Can we do that?
Let's jump back up here before the chat gets away from us. When they made crowdfunding, it wasn't driven for anything but people to get funded.
That's to him because I believe he has a great
Gary, your mic's breaking up.
we can work with. Did I lose you guys?
You haven't lost us completely, but your mic is breaking up. Marquis says when they made crowdfunding, it wasn't driven for anything but people to get funded. The major publishers is using it. Go figures. Says, but I see where you're coming from. Absolutely. John says the thing is, when the big fish swim in the small fish pond, it draws attention to the small fish as well.
all boats rise.
Great, Marquis is great point.
Things like that.
Whoever is that talking, Gary, I think your microphone's getting faulty, and I think we just lost Gary.
We lost Gary. It was down to the final 6.
I'm sorry. Marquis says, I guess the perspective could publicity for smaller indies as well. Pop says, ding, Zim nails it. Mindy says hello to Andrew.
What's up, Mindy?
Rebel Gaming says, look, when you wrestle in the indies and you bring a Wii star in for the main event, everyone on the card benefits. More asses in seats, same as Kickstarter. B name means more eyeballs on Kickstarter. Probably, yeah.
It's basically talking about a headliner. The headliner sells the show. Every other person on the card gets some money out of it. Mm-hmm. This is just a little bit of jealousy from us. Oh, they're bigger than us and we can't take them on. Who cares? Keep going. One day you'll be bigger than them if you do your job right.
I don't think it's that as much as there has been a perception for the longest time that Kickstarter is made for the little guy, the small guy, the house creator. You know what I'm saying?
Made for tech. Kickstarter was never made for comics. We made it about comics, us indie creators. Because we decided to go on there and take it over and do what we did with it. They never made it for us. Let's stop acting like they did.
I don't think you took it over, have you?
Well, for the there's no tech projects that make more money, but there's more comics now as a group. That is the biggest group now on Kickstarter.
And even just to add, it's kind of flattering though to some degree as well. Mm-hmm. That now all these big people want to come in and want to come to your house for the party. You know, I remember in high school that nobody wanted to come to my house for a party, and then fast forward third year in college, a bunch of cool kids wanted to hang out at my house with my friends, and we were the nerds and the dorks in high school, and then all of a sudden we're the cool kids because we're interesting. Yeah. And so I think it's very flattering. And I'm not saying there's not problems with it or there's not perception or it's not like, oh, you're showing up now to my house, the house that we built. And when I say we, I mean everybody but me because I didn't build anything there. I'm legitimately outside as a spectator watching both sides of all of it. And I think it's fascinating to watch as a spectator versus
Gary,
a creator.
Sorry, Andrew. Gary, how's your microphone?
Is it working now? Everything's
absolutely good? Perfect.
Oh, my God.
Sultry.
Did you have a point
about that?
No, not a problem. Everybody's tech goes bad every once in a while.
All right. Well, I was just saying, though, I don't even remember what I was saying. But,
okay.
What I was saying, I think, was like even someone like Keanu Reeves. I know Rob loves him so much, but why does he need a Kickstarter or anything like that to get his comic out? You know, I mean, he's going to get a lot of hits on his Kickstarter, and or maybe he deserves it. I don't know, but it's people like us who really need something like that, because when we're struggling as it is to get our comics out there because there's no Comic-Con or anything going on. And
Well, Gary, let me explain something you might not have known. And
all right,
I won't say who creator is because I don't have permission. But a creator we know, and I know you know him, happened to be featured underneath Keanu's project for a day and a half. He went from half funded to funded in 6 hours. So how is this not helping? How is
that's
this
helping him, right?
But it's also the New York Times is running a post about how comics are coming back, how comics are now using crowdfunding, how there's new energy in comics.
Sorry
All
about
of
that, guys. I
So
missed
the-
like the
so
last
the
couple
media-
minutes I was out.
Sorry, that's
So
all
the-
right. We were carrying on.
So the media is helping all indie comics because of what he was doing with his stuff.
Well,
Got a lot of
started in
exposure.
we're getting the doors open to being taken serious.
Well, you know,
Okay.
I do want to say that I pretty much use crowdfunding exclusively for comics. There's been a few things here and there that I thought were cool. Sometimes I'm shocked when I go to Indiegogo and there's something up there besides the comic. And I'm like, what? What is this? Oh, that's right. You don't have to just back books on here. So it does that used to freak me out, and it still does. I did want to bring up one last question though. So last question of the night.
Before you jump over to that, I thought you used Second and Charles for the majority of your comics.
Well, that's the stuff that I actually that's the stuff that I actually go and buy, like the Marvel stuff and the DC stuff.
The last year or so, I've given more Ollie's more money than I have practically anybody. It seems because that's where you go.
I will say,
Go to get them.
Go ahead, Rob.
No, go ahead. And right after that, we have to point something out. There's something huge going on we have to address. But go ahead.
I will say that I am waiting for a buy one get one free graphic novel sale. They're gonna be running at one of my favorite stores. I'm about to go in there and clean up. Anyway, I've got $300 with their name on it, and I'm looking at some of those $60 novels. I'm gonna put a hurting on them. Go ahead, Rob. What is going on?
We got to check out Gary's shirt. Look at Gary's shirt. Look at that that promotion. I love
There
it.
we are.
Look at that shirt.
Gary, I don't know if I told you, but when you come on the stream wearing a shirt of your own character, it's a $5 fee. So you'll be getting it. I'll be PayPal shortly. I'm joking. That's an awesome shirt.
Awesome
Thank you.
shirt.
I'm just sorry I'm not showing any nipples. I mean,
Yeah.
I know that's a big thing nowadays. but
That's a direct dig at Rob or what? No, just kidding. Rob showed up one time without a shirt on. We got nothing but mail for it.
Yeah.
Okay, so obviously you need to design a WCRI hat then.
Here we go.
I have one
question.
more question before we get to the real meat and potatoes of the show.
That's right.
Here we are already an hour in. So, but we had that South African site on, which was awesome. Any suggestions for pitching my first book? Watch the shoulder, make sure the arm is straight. I went old school and printed out of my pocket. How should I approach stores, potential customers? Should I do live streams? I was told to stay off the web, especially live shows. If I do a show, are there any unspoken rules of comic book creators streaming? Jesse J.N. Thanks a lot for writing in, Jesse J.
Wow.
People told you to promote your book by not promoting your book. And
Wow.
you're listening to people telling you not to promote your book, and you think that's going to work? No, Jesse. You got to get on it, man. Get on every show you can. Talk to every comic book store that you can. Expect a lot of no's. Don't let it get to you. That happens to us all, especially on your first books, especially when you're brand new. They're just going to say no. It's just part of the course. But still build that relationship. Talk to them. Get them to know who you are, so when you come back with issue 2, they kind of remember that you bugged them for issue number 1. You'd be amazed how follow-up gets you into the store. And Jesse, don't listen to the people who tell you not to promote yourself. You gotta get better friends. I think that's today's theme of the show. Get better friends, guys. Horrible advice.
Jesse, you've already paid for this comic out of your own pocket. Take it everywhere you possibly can, and
Right.
online to your local retailers. Find as many distributors as you can, and get
Right.
that book out there in as many avenues as you think. Use your creativity to find the unusual places to get people to look and buy your book, because you never know when you might open up a huge opportunity.
Like crowdfunding. Go kickstart your book and clear the cover.
So I got a funny story to tell. And
Do whatever you got to do. Yeah.
I got a good story to tell, and it involves My Hero Academia. And I know the person who did this, and what happened is that they were selling their book. And they did exactly what you did, where they treated it as a business operation. They didn't crowdfund it. They didn't want to do it. And they were at a con, and they were just speaking in the hotel lobby with a prominent voice actor. And some of you might know who I'm talking about. I don't want to say his name because I don't know if I can, but he was speaking to two prominent voice actors.
If it's a positive story, I can't see why you can't say it.
It's Todd Kelly from Project Titan.
Okay.
And so he was speaking to John Swayze and Chuck Huber. And I know Chuck. And so what wound up happening is that they were just sharing a few drinks in the lobby bar of the hotel. And then John pretty much at the end of his panel announced the book, and Todd sold out so quickly just because he was having a conversation the night before with just a voice actor and a guest at a con, and sold out just like that. And then he ran out, and then he went home early, and it's a great story. It's a great position, but it kind of just happened. So, and also Todd gave a really good piece of advice where if you get to go to a con and get to pick your table, pick a table that's closest to the panel rooms as possible, because that way you're going to get the most foot traffic. And so if you're in that situation also, and you're going to a lot of cons, that's something that you should do as well. And it's just a little tiny trick that people don't know about, and it makes such a big difference. But just speak to people. You never know who you're going to speak to. It's the moral of the story. And you never know who's going to be massively big, because one just like legitimately a sentence sold out somebody's entire lot, and they actually brought double the books to a con, and this was during COVID. So imagine that day, and I'm sure Todd's wife was happy that he was back home 6 hours ahead of schedule. I'm sure of it.
And the bathroom too. If you can pick to be close to a bathroom at a show, the bathroom is a gold mine.
Well, some shows.
And keep in mind,
the ladies' room you don't want to be next to.
That wasn't what I was thinking of. Hey, buddy, want to see my comic?
You get them coming out, not going in. Come on, Randy, that's rookie. You get them coming out.
all right,
That's when you shake their hands, right?
you guys are just being gross now. That's
There
the
we
last place I want to shake somebody's hand.
I've been to a lot, not a lot of shows, but I've been to some shows, and I haven't seen any like artist tables near a panel where people are going to wait in line to see their favorite star or actor. So it's kind of hard to get close to them to where somebody's just going to wait there and like look at your table and say, oh, well, I'm here, I'm just going to buy this guy's stuff because I'm just here.
Yeah.
I mean,
Actually, I think corner tables are arguably one of the better tables to get if absolutely possible.
yeah, it's hard to do that too, because a lot of times when I called Comic Cons and got my way in, they seem to they don't even ask you where you want to go, not unless you're like a huge an artist or someone who sells any comics that are mainstream. They're not going to put you in an area where which is close to any place where you're going to really get a lot of traffic that way. But a lot of the indie guys, they just put in the back room. Hey, there you go, back there. It's a cheap table. You're all set. In my opinion.
All right, Barry, what do you got for us? You didn't say anything. You're too quiet.
Are you there, Varian?
Varian's not there. That's why he's so.
JS, you got anything
I'm here.
to
Sorry about that. I was
That's all right.
go ahead.
One other thing.
Go ahead, JS.
Basically, also, Jesse, keep in mind you've got a lot of people that are out there looking for new books.
Yeah.
I mean, you basically have podcasters who do interviews with new artists. You've got people on the various Facebook groups who are looking specifically to promote anybody who looks new and interesting. You've
Right.
just got a lot of people out there that are looking for books that are just new, weird, something special about them that nobody's ever seen before. Sorry, nobody's ever seen before. And if you can find those people, or even just put out in the general world that you're looking to promote your book, trust me, you're going to get a lot of people that are going to be right on the ball and going to be
Right.
doing to help whatever they can.
Especially now.
Yeah.
Especially now.
Especially now, yeah. But right now, there's no Comic Cons going on. So, I mean,
That's why you need online promotion. You need to be on shows like this. Like the Jesse,
that's right.
wrong things. JS, were you going to say something? What do you got?
Yep. Yeah, I was gonna echo what a couple people said too about like thinking outside the box, because especially when you put all the money out, you want to make some money back, obviously, and a great way to do that is like if your comic is set in your hometown, like go to places in your hometown or whatever and sell it. If there's if it's like set in a bowling alley, go to bowling alleys and sell your comic. Like they'll buy it because it's like it's cool. It's like I never thought anybody'd do a comic about bowling. I mean, whatever like your different like special elements are about that could possibly connect to other people. I mean, you'll be surprised, and usually those are the people who will buy. They'll buy like 10 copies, 15 copies, 20 copies. So you're not even just selling one. It definitely helps to get it out there. Definitely, like they're saying, get online wherever you can. Yeah, I definitely, you definitely need to be online to be sharing this stuff. And kind of echoing the whole Kickstarter thing. I mean, really, one of the best things about Kickstarter, aside from getting funded, is really being able to promote your work and share it and get it out there. And I think that's why a lot of companies, especially the like board game companies and all kinds of things, have been doing that for years, because it's a great. I mean, honestly, like I think for me and a lot of people I know, we've probably benefited more from using it as a promotional tool than actually getting people actually doing stuff. At least they're discovering you on there, and then you do get connections, and then you do keep going on.
Not only that, but you start breeding customer loyalty, especially if you keep doing a product over and over again on a regular basis. And personally, I don't think there's anybody that does that better right now than Coffin Comics and Brian Polito. And if you look at him, he's always up there pushing, and he's slowly, it took him a little bit of time, but once he found his audience, he's got that audience. And now he knows that there's a foundation there that he's building on all the time. So,
and another company to mention, Zenescope. Zenescope has killed and has built out their audience massively. The reason why they have sold over 12 million books to this date. There is a reason why. And they have found, and when they first came out on the scene in 2005, very few people were interested in their book. People thought it was one thing. It turns out that it's not. And they started very much like an indie publisher. And that's something to pay attention to, much like Coffin Comics is doing now. And with it, they push hard and they know what they're doing, and it's great. And those are two great companies to really push out your book when you take all the risk. And I'll also add this, where it applies more to a con, but if you have characters and you have an extra $1,000, maybe you want to make prints, and maybe you want to figure out how to make prints cheaply. And now somebody's coming, and it's a father and son, and he sees one of the coolest characters, and the dad wants to. You have maybe 3 books out there, and you throw in a free print. The kid's happy, the dad's happy because his son is happy, and he's got the 3 comics that he might read with his son, but his son feels like $1 million, and you look like a superstar. And chances are that if you have a card, they might follow you on social media, or if you have blank covers or your back of your book is blank, maybe you do a quick sketch, because that also helps. And so now you're providing something additional at a very cheap rate. And you could also take that out onto live streams and other things as well. It's a little bit more complicated, but you have to go that extra step to make yourself different from everybody else, especially right now, because everybody is legitimately starting at zero. And when the con scene comes back, everybody's going to be starting at zero in the indie sector.
And just because I haven't heard it mentioned yet, don't forget the local comic book shops. Never forget your local comic book shops.
Always push yourself locally. Yeah.
We mentioned it. We talked about if he gets denied to make sure he goes back a second time with his second issue. A lot of shops want to see that you can do more than one issue. And I do understand that. That makes sense, because why would you want to hold on to just one issue? You want something that you know your base can come back from, unless it's a graphic novel, of course. And then it's a whole story.
And Jesse, also don't forget to go out and approach your local newspapers and get any kind of publicity locally that you can possibly get, especially since you've already laid out your comic and out-of-pocket expense. You can always give them an extra copy, tell them that you're local, and they might give you some great extra exposure. But should you do live streams? Absolutely. You should get out there as much as possible. What should you do once you're there? Talk about your product and be as natural and transparent as possible. But remember, you're on live, so you don't want to talk about things that you don't want absolutely everybody to know.
And also remember, today on this show, all these gentlemen have never known each other before this date, are now in a network. They've all introduced themselves to each other. They've all met each other on a live stream, and they might reach out to each other and stay friends over the next couple of years. That doesn't happen when you're keeping to yourself and not doing these streams. Yeah. Randy, did you see? I was going to say, did you see that? Good question.
It says, do you guys think that comic creators should have printed material and things ready? Should have printed material and things ready ahead of time, and use funded money for final touch-ups like shipping, etc. Some creators are finding it very hard to reach a deadline. What is that? Slap my head? Shake my head.
Yeah, definitely should. I mean, if nothing else, it's going to make sure you get that deadline. You know, you're going to make it.
Well, don't print though until your Kickstarter is done, because you don't know how the Kickstarter itself will affect your print counts. So you do want the product done. Have it able to be ready to be printed. Yes, you should have everything ready to go, or at least so close that it will end by the time your project ends. So some people have add-ons like drawn into the comic, or if you do this, we'll color the book if it's a black and white. So keep those in mind. But yeah, get your book done so you don't fall behind. We just started the program today of someone getting in trouble because they didn't get their book out on time.
Yeah, and to talk about that, a lot of what Kickstarter, at least I see it, and I back projects that the books are already done, and it's the printing cost. And it's maybe a little touch up here, a little bit touch up there, and making sure it's all great. And so those Kickstarters typically have a lower cost to produce, and those goals are lower. And the people that I speak to, I just had Tyrone Jackson on, and I know that a bunch of you know him, whether personally or just professionally, and his book is done, that he's launching on Kickstarter. And so I know it's funded, and so I feel comfortable backing it, and I also know it's just covering the print cost and other add-ons and other things and other cool items. He's got a guitar pick that looks awesome for his book. You know, it's going to be a cool one. So that's something to keep in mind as well, where a lot of people do that. And it's really, really comforting, because I've gotten burned on a Kickstarter before very hard, and now I only back projects that the books are covering the print cost. And that's very reassuring for me.
John H. says, Jesse J., whoever told you that wants you to fail. And Mark Hodges, thanks for listening, Mark, at GR Comic Con, says, we place our artist alley right across from a few major Hollywood guests. Seems to help sales a lot for the AA participants. Thank you, Mark. Gary, anything to add?
Well, I just have to say, like, I print, so many books pretty much just for my Comic Cons when I go to, like, 50 at a time. And, that one might last like 2 or 3 cons, or maybe more. All depends on who's buying my books. So I don't rely on Kickstarter or anything like that to do that, take care of that. But I think right now, I'll be honest with you, in the future, because I have like 6 books that I have written and have done. plus the 7th that I will go to Kickstarter and help fund those so I can print more and hopefully distribute them out to stores. And that's why I would use Kickstarter or Indiegogo or any of those fundraisers for my books.
Mark Hodges further suggests pass out postcards or bookmarks at shows advertising your product. Make sure it lists where you can order the book and contact information like email. You would be amazed at how many I pick up with no info.
And here's a great thing: do panels. Don't, not just when Comic Cons come back. Don't just do online panels, but try to reach out to other creators. Ask you to be on one of their panels. I do a whole bunch of panels in Florida. You start getting some people invite you to the shows. They'll give you a free ticket to be there because you can put on a good panel. You get people who will follow you, and you hand out a handout with information that you gave out in the panel. You'd be surprised when it has something of value to them. They'll keep it and take it home. They will subscribe to you versus a business card or a postcard. Because remember, everyone's giving them that, but you're giving them information. You give someone information, they'll hold on to that.
So people like me pick up printed materials all the time at shows and make sure they have legitimate contact info and how to order your stuff. Amazing how many I get that are outdated websites and etc.
So what I do is I hand out business cards, and what I found is that it's got all my info, it's got everything on it. I find that about half of them wind up in the garbage of that panel that I do. And I do a lot of panels to promote ideas I have and things that I like to talk about. But I started handing out pins. Pins don't get thrown out with my podcast name on it. And what I'm doing, and everybody's like, "Oh my God, I got a pin! Oh my God, this is insane! Who gives out a pin?" And it's a good quality pin, but I ordered 1,000 of them, and it cost me about $60 for 1,000. That's gonna last me, and was planning to, and then COVID hit. It's probably gonna last me because I do about maybe 5 cons a year now that I go to in the local area. That's probably gonna last me about 4 years, and I can't order new ones and new colors and new logo stuff until my girlfriend says, and she's in charge. I like to think I am, but she's in charge. I can't order anything new until those things are gone.
Andrew, can you tell us where you ordered it from so they know where to go?
I ordered it from wow. I can't think. It's like custompins.com or custom buttons. Custombuttons.com, I believe is the name. I think it's been a while because again, this thing. I mean, I ordered it 2 years ago, and I have about 800 of them or 600 of them, depending on how we're counting. Because I had to order like an extra 200 just to make sure, but. That's the thing that I have like 600 left, and they last a while, and everybody takes one, people take 2, and I love it. And then you hand them out to guests also. So it's like I handed one to Tara Strong, and I've gotten guests for my show also by handing out stuff because you're giving somebody something that's kind of cool. I have a cool logo, and it's just such a nice thing, and it's so nice that somebody gives you something free that legitimately cost me like 7 cents to produce.
You know, I had pins for my first publishing company. This guy called me. He said, "Hey, how would you like 5,000 pins with your company's logo on it?" And I'm like, "Sure. What do you want the pins to say?" And it was very noisy behind the guy. You could tell he was in a call center. And I went to his website. The website was decent. And I placed the order. He says, "Okay, we're going to send them to you, and then we'll invoice you." Keep in mind, he's talking so fast, I didn't hear the price. We talked about what to put on the pin. It was not on the pin. It was not like what he put on the pin was my company's name, address, and telephone number on the pins. And when you're working in comics as a publisher and you're giving people your pin with your office number and telephone number on it, you start wondering why the next, Monday, Tuesday, there's a line of people. I had 3 people standing outside of my office with the portfolios that he got my pin during the Comic-Con. Just figured they pop on by for a visit. From Indie Vote Radio, I had a question, and this one is from Jason. Jason said, "Varian, did I hear that you said you had a stroke earlier? I had one as well, and I have not been able to draw since." Yeah, I have had 3. I've had 3, and I remember the first one was very scary because the first one I thought I was laying in bed. I can't do anything. And I remember I begged my wife, who was just my fiance then, I'm like, hey, give me a pen and paper quickly. And she did. And I was able to draw one of what Dread Dinosaur is affectionately labeled my horror eyes. I was able to draw one of my horror eyes, and he thought, I said, okay, if I can do that, I can still draw. Not everybody's that lucky though. I had to learn how to talk again. I had to learn how to walk without a limp. So when it comes to that ability to draw, um, keep at it. It's still under there. The best I can tell you is like a fog. Having gone through it, for me, it was like a fog. Trying to remember how to do things.
You have to build up and readjust your hand-eye coordination.
Yeah. Because for me, it's speech that was affected big time for me. And my wife says to sometimes I'll stop for 1 minute. She says I'll stop for one whole minute and not say anything, and then 1 minute later continue the same conversation. Now I don't notice these, so I'm losing about maybe 5 minutes a day this way. I told her if it gets worse, I'm cheating myself out of life. You should get me to the doctor immediately because if I'm doing that 5 times a day, and we can add up. We can. I may be out of an hour of blackouts in 1 year. I need to. I can't take it. But just keep focusing on learning how to, again, how to hold a pencil, how to write your name is big, and try copying. Try copying to get that memory back and telling your hand what to do, where to go.
If it's something you really want to do, Jason, just keep at it. You'll get it. You'll get it.
And Jason, I from my heart, I hope that you get through this. It's
amen.
It definitely was the hard thing for me to come back from, and I still have off days, so it happens.
So I'll add to that because I didn't have a stroke, but I had a surgery that didn't go well, and I had to learn how to rewalk. I was out, not moving around for 12 weeks. And I could tell you that you find out exactly who you are really quickly. You find out what you're made of, and you got to keep pushing because you got to get to the other side. Because whatever you're going through during that time that you're struggling is only going to add to your ability to write or draw or see something differently or understand something in a different light. And so obviously I didn't have a stroke. I had a very different situation, but I see things in a different light. And it's a real advantage right now because what the world is looking for in creativity, and we're seeing it on Netflix, and it goes beyond comics. We're seeing it in comics too, and on television, it's something different. And it's going to give you a real edge. And it's not going to be fun. And I'm assuming I can't curse here, so I'm not going to. There's
you can.
Colorful words. I'm being PG tonight.
You don't have to be.
You don't have to be PG in front of us, Andrew.
We have LB, MA, and all
for the sake of everybody and everything out there, I'm being PG, but definitely you can put a bunch of words there. But once you get through this, you're going to be like, and I can write and I can draw, and I now have something that somebody else doesn't have, and I could rely upon it and pull it out and throw it into whatever project you're working on.
Amen. And
we are TVMA DLSV, by the way, where the D and the L stand for damn language.
Varian, are you diabetic? I must ask.
No. Although they've warned me, they've warned me. Stay away from the pop, but I know I'm not diabetic. But I have other. It's funny. I've had other elements that like point to that, like with the skin infections and which is took me out from walking for a couple weeks. Which I'm able to walk now for a while. I can walk for about 3 hours a day, which is good. Much better than it was a couple weeks ago. So I'll take those small health setbacks and just try to get through them. Rob, I'm sorry I cut you off.
No, that's fine. I mean, it's important that we talk. I'm disabled. I'll never be able to walk the right way, so I understand it. We do need to support creators out there and letting them know they're not alone and that you can find a way to keep creating no matter how much pain you're in. I just wanted to touch on this Grand Rapids Comic Con, and they made the comment, I ask artist alley participants to do panels. Amazing how many have zero interest in promoting themselves when they have a captive audience. And I want to say that everyone on this show today, I put out a Facebook thing and said, who wants promotion? every one of them stepped up. That's what we want on Indie Vault. People who are hungry, because there are so many creators out there who are like, well, what questions are you going to ask me? And sometimes there's for good reasons. Some people have NDAs and they have to worry about it. But some people just want us to ask the questions that they want, or they want us to take the time and make it around their schedule. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. You have to be able to be flexible, get out there, and get, like these gentlemen are doing. We had a guy from Nigeria. It's 2 a.m. He thought it was important to get it out here. What's your excuse? Why aren't you doing these?
Yes.
I mean, I'll even add to that. I don't know if anybody saw, but I put something out a day ago because I need guests. A lot of people stepped up out of nowhere. People want this, and I got a nice comment from somebody, Chuck Pino, but he kind of verified it, and it helped a little bit. Actually, it helped a lot because I love Chuck. But one of the things is that even without that, people are like, I want to be on your show. I want to be there. I need this press, and I take everybody. Because I love interviewing people, and I don't get it. I don't get how people aren't doing this. To me, it's the easiest time, and you got to stay inside anyway. So why wouldn't you do it?
Yeah.
And see what happens.
And speaking of easiest time, Varian, we should probably pick up some of our guests and what they're here to promote.
Yeah, go ahead. I was going to do that. Wanted to also thank everybody who's listening on the radio right now.
What's our radio number?
77,842 people listening.
We appreciate each and every one of you.
Vote radio right now. Thank you guys. Really do appreciate it. We are multi-platform, of course. Those are numbers are added up and aggregated from a whole bunch of different sources. Alexa, the app, the URL. So.
Gary has taken his entire room and turned it sideways.
Yeah.
There he is.
There he is.
All right. Let's start with now. We'll start with JS because I know you have a book, correct?
Yeah, it's something I actually did a while ago.
Mm-hmm.
Then and had different publishers, and now I just actually got full rights back to it, and so I'm getting ready to trying to decide what to do actually. If I do want to self-publish, or if I do want to go with an indie publisher and actually get it out in stores, because that's the tough thing with Kickstarter and any crowd fund. Like, and for me, like, I don't care about numbers that much with especially when it comes to Kickstarter. If it gets funded, I don't care if 12 people funded it or 200. It doesn't really matter to me. But I have actually had other people who do care about those numbers, and it's like, why do you care? Like, if you're doing a Kickstarter, that's the point, is you're just trying to get your thing funded. Who cares how many people it is? But I've actually had some artists and people say, like, I don't feel like doing this for 12 people. And it's like, well, those 12 people, paid for it, and to me, it's like, you shouldn't be doing it then if that's the way you want to do it. But when you do have something like this book of mine, Pistol Fist, we actually sold quite a few when the indie market was turning down in like around 2006. And the indie books were not doing very well. We actually sold halfway decently. Echoing what other people have said about their struggles, I am disabled now too. I have really severe arthritis, and I actually was going to be a comic book artist and switched to being a writer because I could tell I was really having serious problems, and it was getting so bad that my hands started locking up at my day job, and because there's little bones that had worn away, so that the bigger ones are kind of sliding around. And I was really glad at that point I had already decided to focus on writing. Plus, I have too many ideas, and I kind of hate being an artist that can only work on like one book a month. If you're doing it professionally, because it's so much. And I'm like, well, if I'm a writer, it's like most writers can crank out, like decent ones can crank out a script a week. for 22 pages, 24 pages. And I'm like, I could do 4 books a month as a writer as opposed to 1 book as an artist. So that was, and plus I was just finding.
Chance. Shh. Writers take 1 month to write a book. Shh. Chance.
Okay, whatever. But the well, it depends. If you're a smart writer, but just joking. No, and honestly, as a like, I like. I'm always interested in everybody's process, because there are some people who write really slowly, but the quality and the stuff that they have thought through in that amount of time is usually much better because they spent more time on it. Even if it's just time that they have, just while they're mowing the lawn or whatever they're doing, just thinking about the story and all the characters and different things. Like, I don't have anything against that. I just know, as when I have been a professional writer and you have deadlines, you got to get your crap done. But I also, there's so many phenomenal artists out there. And I think there's some people too that they have good ideas and they are good at telling stories and things. And they're okay artists, but they know a lot of really good artists. And it's, there's nothing wrong with also getting other people to draw your stories for you, especially if their style like suits your story better than what you would do. But I say this because I actually was recovering from 2 hand surgeries and 1 foot surgery when I created this disabled superhero that is set in the American Revolution. So it was kind of eerie that was like my first published work. That was around the same time. Like, oh, this is very odd. I'm kind of feeling his pain and everything too. But but one of the things that I did, and like they're all saying with like, how bad do you want it? I mean, especially back then, like, you did not have shows like this. And I actually, and you can find them online. There are places where you can find every comic store in the world, and their websites, their addresses, their phone numbers. And I pretty much tried to contact every single store in the world that I could, just to get the word out. And surprisingly, like, I did not know how well this was going to go over in other countries, because since it is set in the American Revolution, although it's not, it actually has it has a international, a very international creative team from many different countries. And some of the places that ordered the most was like a store in Vietnam that ordered a lot, and actually asked for a poster. And so I sent them a poster. And there were some stores in Germany and some other places that I was surprised were like that excited about the book and asking for posters and things. And but at that time, when most of the other like unknown indie books were like selling a couple thousand or 1,500, I think we did like 500 to 1,000 more copies. And I think a lot of it was just was putting the effort in and the time in. And even like at that time, like, you don't have, you just take, you eat the elephant. You just take a little bite at a time, and you do 5 stores a day, 10 stores a day, 20 stores, like whatever you can do. But try to hit them all, because you never know. Like, I never would have thought that we would have had so many overseas people interested, but especially overseas, they're interested in history and things like that. So it was cool having that aspect. And there are, I mean, I think probably a lot of us, but me definitely, I'm interested in the history of other countries and things. That's why I really loved hearing about Nigeria and stuff. And I find a lot of those different things interesting. And one of the reasons why I actually did this book, one of the reasons why I did it is because of the ones that I was pitching at the time, this was the only, kind of the pitch line that got the most interest from like 3 different publishers. So I actually had to go and create it much more in depth very quickly to meet the demand And I wish they had picked the 9 other things I had more developed above that, but that was the interest and that's what people were into. So that's what I was able to do. And I used tax return money to pay for a lot of the production, and just doing, whatever you have to do. And there's other tricks you can do too. And I know some people here who, I know different artists are going to feel differently about this, but one of the things I wanted to do too, that was important to me, was just to have the best looking book I could, especially if you're doing something historical. It's already kind of a tough sell and you have a smaller audience. So I knew I really wanted to make it look good. And I had a really good colorist in the works, but I could not afford him. So what we did was because the penciler was so tight and clean with his pencils, we went straight from pencils to colors. And which really worked well because the book is a historical. It's historic, so it having a little bit of a raw edge really worked well for it. And I even have professional inker friends who did not even realize that it was not inked. And they rib me about it all the time, but it really worked for that book. And there's things like that you can do to meet whatever funds you have, and it is good to be creative like that, and to just try to do whatever you can to make it work. But I'm trying to decide. What I'm kind of thinking is I'll probably do some kind of like, because this has actually been published in different formats before, as a miniseries, as a graphic novel, and different things. And I'm kind of thinking, and we still have probably 6,000. Of course, how do you reach these 6,000 people? But probably have 6,000 copies and things that we have sold over the years of the other things. But it's been 10 years since it was last printed. So I'm thinking about doing maybe a hardcover version, because we have some really hardcore fans. But also but I'd like to get it out there to a bigger audience too. So whatever that looks like. I mean, but that's what a lot of these things are doing too. When they're funding, some of them are doing that, where they'll fund like a collected version or a special version. And I am planning on editing some things and changing some things that nothing major, because I probably can't afford it unless the Kickstarter goes really well. But some different dialogue and things, because I did write this 15 years ago, and I hope I have improved in 15 years as a writer. And I think too, as most people, anybody that's worked on more than one book, you get a better feel for the characters and things like that. And it was a 4-issue miniseries, and I feel like I didn't really nail the voices until the 3rd issue. So I'd kind of like to go back and kind of tweak some of the voices, some of the word balloons and things like that, just to make it better overall, and to clear up some other elements of it that I felt like we communicated clearly, but then I've gotten questions about certain things. Not that people are upset.
Just be careful you don't Lucas your own work. You can't go back too much.
Well, I don't have the time either, and and especially with my arthritis, I don't have the patience.
Speaking of time, JS, we're gonna have to tell folks where they can get a hold of Pistol Fist.
Well, if they didn't, yep.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say it's still up on Comixology under Arcana right now, and it is for sale in a different. You can find the graphic novels and stuff on Amazon.
Now you do radio dramas too, don't you?
Yes. So you radio people, go to the podcast and listen to our podcast.
Which podcast? We need an address.
It's called supersonicpodcomics.com. You can find it as Supersonic Pod Comics. They're basically audio comics. It's kind of a love letter to comics. We have our own, basically kind of like a superhero universe that we've created in the spirit of Marvel and DC and everything. And but it starts with a big origin event that we have that happens, and then it splits off into 4 different series, but it's all part of the same kind of grand story. And you can find it on Apple, on any Android things, on Spotify. But just look under Supersonic Pod Comics, and you'll see a cool guy with a helmet and earphones logo thing that I made up. And
Supersonic Pod Comics, POD Comics.
Yep. And and we do it's full music, full sound effects. and it's very it's really kind of a love letter to comics. And
are they set up like radio dramas, like you would hear the old time radio shows?
Not quite as I don't want to offend anybody, but not quite as corny. As some of the, but I grew up liking those too. But
that stuff was awesome, corny. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, yeah, and they kind of meant to be over the top and everything with a lot of the stuff. This is it's a little bit more modern with the style. We do have very different styles of stories in most of them, but we have over 40 voice actors and actresses, and we have a lot of, each series kind of has its own editing style. So some are more like stereo, where you hear a lot and things moving around. Others are more like normal. They all kind of have their own. The idea, and we were releasing them almost the same as a regular comic company would release them, where we were releasing a different. They were all monthly series, and then but they were released like a new one every month, every week there was a different one. We're kind of scaling that back a little bit so we can keep our quality up. So we're going to every 2 weeks, but we have a lot of filler stuff too. But it's been really doing really well though. A lot of people are liking it.
Awesome. About how many episodes would you say you got available?
We had like 30 something, I think, somewhere around there.
So there's a lot of good listening there.
Oh yeah, and there's a lot, and we have some really phenomenal people. Andrew might actually like this one crazy one that I write. It's called Sumo Girl, and it is set in Japan. And we have a lot of people that don't necessarily like normal comics that really like that one, and it's crazy and silly, and it allows us to do a lot of different things. And we've had a lot of people say, I never thought I would hear like an audio anime or manga before, but they're like, man, it's crazy. But
we're going to pass it to Andrew so he can tell us about his sites. Go ahead.
And JS, before we do that, JS, we're going to have you back on sometime real soon and get a lot deeper into Supersonic Pod comics.
Cool.
It's real interesting. Go ahead, Andrew.
What's up? I'm muted now. So what I do is I run the Pop Anime Comics Lounge, which is a podcast on SoundCloud. I got 120 episodes, and it's very similar to my website, which is Pop Anime Comics, as well as my Facebook page, which, as you can see, all that stuff is up there. And so the difference is that on my podcast, it's more, I guess, professional, and it's also more of us exploring a lot of stuff from start to finish with creators and dealing with certain things that it's more refined. And this Pop Anime Comics, which is the Facebook stuff, as we're scrolling through it, it deals with a lot of the same people, but it's also more topical, because what I found out is that on March 25th, I started all of this. And what I found out is that you have to continue to produce content to be relevant. And so I just took a leap of faith, went live, never went live before, and I just interview people. We talk about anything they want to talk about. Sometimes it gets controversial, sometimes it doesn't. I deal with everybody across the board. Doesn't matter who you are, your gender, what you do in the comic realm, the wrestling realm, voice acting realm. I don't care about your gender, your sex, anything of that nature. I am an equal opportunist across the board. If you want to be on my show and you're doing something interesting in any of those sectors that I named, you're more than welcome to be on. Shoot me a DM, and you can just shoot me a DM on my personal Facebook, which is Andrew Mecca Davis, and it's an inside joke because I just got called out on that. And then that's what I'm doing. And then on my website, I write articles, and I have been lacking in that department for a while. And another thing that I do, and I used to do it a lot, was I do panels at cons, and I talk about a variety of topics, everything from East meets West. And what I like to do and what I like to deal with in particular is I like to take a American comic, compare it to an anime, and compare it to a piece of literature. And I'm actually working on a panel, and I don't want to say what that idea is, because the second I say it, everybody's legitimately going to steal it. But I will tell what I have done in the past that has been stolen is I compared Attack on Titan to The Walking Dead to Fahrenheit 451. And that kind of made me an attraction at some cons. I don't get paid, but that panel always gets booked. And I'm also working on a panel right now talking about Pokemon and government and breaking down a whole sector of ideas surrounding Pokemon and government and ideas behind all the games. Rousseauian politics is thrown into there. Anarcho-capitalism is thrown into there. Libertarianism, freedom, the FBI and CIA's in there. And that's kind of my major stuff. And all that is on social media. So if you go to my website, you'll get access to my Twitter.
And the website is
popanimecomics.com. So you could get my Twitter there, which is Pop Anime Comics. You get my Facebook page, that's Pop Anime Comics. Instagram is Pop Anime Comics. I just put up a lot of cool comic stuff. There's a few others. SoundCloud, I'm on SoundCloud, my podcast, which is the Pop Anime Comics Lounge. 120 plus episodes are out there. And then my Facebook page, as I stated already, is Pop Anime Comics. Go to the live section. I have 4 interviews that are coming out from Sunday to Sunday. And I'm going to be continuing to do this. And I got at least another 40 in me till December that I'm planning to do. And then on top of that, I'm also building out the class. It's on OnlyFans, and it's Comic Book Investing 101. And I'm just teaching the basics of comic book investing. And I got a lot of content to talk about. And so if you want to get into that sector and you know nothing about it, or you want a refresher, it's an amazing class. My friend is convincing me to raise the price. Right now, it's $5 because I'm building it out. I will guarantee you that in January of 2021, it will be raised. So keep that in mind, and I could sell it to you this way. In a few years, if you take my class and you follow it to the T and you follow everything that I say, the only question that you're going to be asked at the Porsche dealer is black or yellow.
All right, Andrew. Well, thank you for being on the show. We'll have you back to talk more about your Porsche purchases in the future. We're going to pass it over to Jameis. Jameis, you're up. You're muted. Let me help you. Go now.
There you go. Go ahead.
Sorry. All right, let's do this as quickly as possible. Webcomics Reviews and Interviews is, like I said, a one-stop shop for everything comic related as far as production of the comics. We deal with the writing. We deal with the art. Well, not so much the art because, like I said, part of the emphasis originally was more for the writers. But we also do a lot of the businesses, keep healthy, that sort of thing. Like I said, we cover a lot of weird topics, but almost all of them are comic related. We also do interviews with pretty much everybody who's interested. We've done people with health consultants, business consultants, even a security firm, just because there were some interesting things relative to convention security that I thought was interesting.
Sure.
But, it's just straight up. There's a lot of weirdness in the podcast. We also do webcomic reviews. I've done occasional regular reviews, but I try to keep it webcomics because there's so many webcomics out there, and I think they need some really good highlighted focus on them. So that's been all sorts of fun as well. I've also had interviews with persons from Webtoons and Tapas. So it gets really weird really quick. Currently, there's 101 shows. Most of those are straight topic related, but we do have like 36 different interviews and maybe a dozen review shows. Not only is there the primary podcast itself, which is pretty much available pretty much on every podcaster out there, which has sort of been a fun adventure, trying to track them all down and all that. Because there's a lot of them out there. Jeez. But there's also WCRI Flash, which is basically for basically a 2-minute, 3-minute version for the Alexa, which is 161 episodes that are just simply real quick. This is what we're going to, real quick topic, how to get a little bit better at it. Some inspirational stuff, some business tips, and some marketing tips. So it's just a real quick.
And where is that? Where is that? Where can that be found?
Not only is it available through the Spreaker, but it's also available, or actually it's pretty much available everywhere as well, even though it's specifically set up for the Alexa app.
Where is it? Where can they get it?
Everywhere. Basically, I've been going through iTunes, Spotify.
Yeah.
They even have their own. There's even a YouTube channel just for the audiograms.
And is that under Webcomics Reviews and Interviews?
Correct.
Okay.
And how can they follow you? Do you have a website? Do you have somewhere they can get all your information in one place? Or should they follow you on Facebook?
Usually advise Facebook, because that's pretty much where I hang out the most. But there are contact links throughout the various, the YouTube channel, for example, has pretty much a summary of all the various links.
All right.
Also,
Great.
WCRI also has its own Facebook page, which is definitely underutilized. But
right.
yeah, I'm really hard to find.
Well, we'll have you back on the show too. We want to get Gary in before we have to say goodbye. Gary,
Yes.
it's your turn. You're up. Tell us about the Pyramid Nights. And people want to know, what are you eating, Gary?
Well, can you hear me all right?
Yeah, you're good.
Barely. Your microphone's
Right.
been crackly this whole time. That's why we've had you muted off and on. So go ahead.
Yeah, sorry. I mean, I'm
No
on
problem.
my phone actually talking to you
Oh,
guys.
okay. There you go.
So,
Tell us about Pyramid Nights.
Pyramid Nights. Oh my God. It's action, adventure, time travel, friendship, drama, everything you want to know. There you go. Thank you. Um, it's a great series. If you like to be entertained and you like fantasy and all that, you should check it out. There's so much going on in the book that I had to write another series. I had to write another series related to it called The Last Pyramid War, which ties into book 2 and book 6. It's pretty much about 3 friends who are pyramid knights, and along with 12 others, have to investigate a breach in the last living pyramid. Out of the 12, the other 11 are dormant, but there's one that's still protected by the pyramid knights because they consider it still alive, and they enter the forbidden zone of the pyramid, and the pyramid is broken into by what they call pyramid terrorists, and there's a lot to it, and it goes into book 2 where one of the characters becomes the pharaoh of time, and it's his origin. And book 3, he has to tell his friends or the other pyramid knights who he is, and they don't believe him. He has to prove who he is. And but then book 4, he travels back in time, and he meets Anubis, one of the ancient Egyptian gods, and Anubis tries to take him back to the underworld because he's supposed to be dead in their time, but he's not in the present or the future, and then it goes on from there. It's a lot of fun. If you really like fantasy, time travel, ancient Egypt, anything like that,
Where can they find it?
be interested in that. Excuse me.
Where can they get it?
You can message me on Facebook, Gary Henderson, or the Pyramid Knights. Pyramid Knights have their own Facebook, or the Pyramid Knights at gmail.com. The Pyramid Knights on Facebook.
Pyramid Nights with a K. That's Nights with a K at at where.com?
Yeah.
Pyramidnights.com.
Pyramid Knights at gmail.com.
At gmail.com.
Send him an email, and we're going to pass this off to Randy and Varian to take us out. We're out of time. Thank you all for being on the show today.
Gary, we're going to have you on sometime soon. I run a show on Sunday mornings where we talk about funny animal, anthropomorphic type books. I'd love to have you back on there. What should we do? We should probably run.
Yeah, and I still owe Gary a phone call. I'll give you a call tomorrow, though, Gary. My day got away from me today, but I will make that phone call tomorrow.
All right, Gary.
All right.
Yeah, hang around after the show. We'll talk more. You can find us at indievolt.com. Make sure you listen to the radio station when we're not doing comic talk like this podcast. You'll get some great alternative and independent music. You can find us on Google Play and the Streama app. And if you ask Alexa nicely, she also will turn on indievolt.com for you. We also have Indie Vault television on the Roku channel, where we have wrestling and movies, as well as some of the videos of these very same podcasts. We welcome your input at Indie Vault Live at indievolt.com. Include Indie Vault Live in the subject matter. Please keep your emails to 90 words or less so that we can put them on cards and talk to them about them on the show. And remember, no question that you have was too silly or too serious, because our feedback will be better because of your setback. Hashtag get an education. Hashtag Indie Vault. All right.
And Varian, tell us about Liberty. Varian, tell us about Liberty on your way out.
Oh, yeah. Comic book distribution. It's our indie comic book distribution. I'm on the spot. Wow. Yeah.
On the spot.
LEDG.us. I am still migrating the site over to a much more secure server because I take everybody's comics and what this business very seriously. So I'm moving over to a better server. I should have been done with it, but I want to make sure all the precautions are being taken. But yeah, distributing indie comics. I think it was Randy this morning. Was it Randy? Did you call it disruptive?
What?
Did you call it disruptive? The Liberty brand. What's happening with Liberty Entertainment Distribution? Was that the phrase used this morning? Disruptive.
Probably, yeah.
Yeah. So go check it out. LEDG.us. You can always message me too for more information on it on Facebook.
And finally, before we go, we have to address it. Pixel Trader wants to know is that you snacking on a juice box?
Wasn't me. I've been away from the computer for quite a while, and I came and sat down. It wasn't me. I wish it was though.
All right, guys, we'll be back tomorrow with Geekgasm at 9 p.m. 9 a.m. Thursday. We're going to have the
Breakfast Buzz, 9
p.m. that day will be Geek Insiders Geek Speak. Friday we'll have an alternating show on Friday. We haven't decided what we're going to do. It might be Nerds of War.
Let's tune back in and find out what it is. 9 p.m.
Saturday, Devil's Advocate. Sunday,
9 a.m. Sunday Funnies, where we talk about the more lighthearted type of comics, whimsical and anthropomorphic. And until next time, everybody, we have to run. Take care of yourself. Stay healthy, and be good.
Screen capping us.
You're what?
Have fun screen capping us. We'll see you later.
Take care, everybody. Here he is, still trying to find the end. There it is. Take care, everyone. See you soon.